Welcome back to Words of Wokism number 37. Are we ready to talk about misinformation? I realize it's, only barely a woke word. The reason I'm putting it in the Words of Wokism is that people we tend to think of as woke, by that I mean the control freaks who say everything is oppressive until they control it, are much more likely to use this word, misinformation. Our schools are using it. The government, the Department of Education is using it. During disasters, you'll hear news media and Democrats and state government talking about misinformation a lot. And it's been weaponized to shut down debate. This goes back pretty far. I mean, let's go back to COVID. Any questions about the veracity of the claims being made, whether it was about the virus itself, its origin, its lethality, its treatment, etc., any questions you asked, just the question itself, they were deemed misinformation. And then Twitter censored a lot of people, shut people down, not just Twitter, Facebook, YouTube, everybody shut people down, ended, canceled accounts, etc., on the theory that by asking these questions and, calling into question the claims being made by some of the officials in charge, we were propagating misinformation that would get people killed. It would be dangerous, right? And lots of us, myself included, saw this as a giant red warning flag. Because, first of all, each and every one of us as an individual has a right to bodily autonomy and to make decisions about how we're going to protect ourselves from a communicable disease. Certainly without, when there's no due process going on. If, on the other hand, I was symptomatic and I was walking around publicly and the government said, you're spewing virus into the air and we're going to get you checked out. And when we demonstrate that you are contagious beyond a shadow of a doubt, look, we've got, due process here. Now you got to be quarantined. You got to stay home because you are literally, typhoid Mary. But we're entitled to that due process. Simply being a human being alive during a pandemic does not make you dangerous to anyone else, least of all just for asking questions about how to best take care of yourself, your family, etc., and what other treatments you might try other than ones that are being recommended that don't actually make sense to you. Same thing goes for the lethality rates, where you're saying, but it looks like only this percentage of people are actually dying, and how do we know they actually died of this, and so forth. That's misinformation. Oh, we can't allow these conversations to happen. That was scary. And I'm not going to pinpoint and say that's when it began, because I'm sure this has been going on a lot longer than that. But it really reached its zenith during COVID, where the accusation of spreading misinformation lost people their jobs. It lost doctors their licenses to practice medicine. It got people arrested. Accounts shut down. Like I said, it was really tyrannical, because people were simply trying to either get word out about things they'd observed, nurses, doctors, etc., that didn't align with what we were being told. And then there were people simply asking questions and looking at research independently. Oh, you're doing your own research? Oh, that was in and of itself. I'm doing my own research is, oh, you're a conspiracy theorist and you consume misinformation, or you're a danger to the public because if you speak these words and ask these questions, you're propagating misinformation, and that's so scary. So that has not really gone away, despite the fact that we now know that a lot of things that were being said and a lot of the questions being asked were legitimate and correct, and that in fact our government and our health officials and many, many doctors were the ones, and still are to a large degree, in spite of the research that's come out now. It's so much that they can't really call it misinformation when we talk about it, but they're still pumping out misinformation and not really being held accountable, strangely enough. So that's why I kind of call it a woke word. It's a thought-terminating, weaponized language that allows one group of people to have power over another group of people, and sometimes in an extreme way with censorship. Well, it's rearing its ugly head again. We're hearing about it during the cleanup for these hurricanes. We're hearing about it during this election campaign. Governments are accusing people of spreading misinformation because They're questioning response times here in North Carolina. They're questioning the nature of the response to the disaster areas and so on. And again, questions, criticisms, misinformation. And just like during COVID, the people making the claim that something is misinformation are not coming forward with, let us show you so you can see with your own eyes how they are incorrect. The focus is on accusing people of lying. The focus is on declaring that a bunch of people who are making the claims are liars, conspiracy theorists, all bad things. Dangerous. In league with the other side, politically, whatever you want. But they don't seem as concerned about the truth. So, when Governor Cooper in North Carolina is very worried, allegedly, about the misinformation coming out of Western North Carolina about authorities blocking roads and preventing aid from getting through, rather than saying, oh my goodness, we want to make sure to dispel this. This is not correct. Let us show you. We're going to take a drone, or we're going to do a little flyover, and we're going to show you the key arteries going in and out of Western North Carolina from above. We're going to take a camera. We're going to go and show you and see. You can see in real time live on channel blah, 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 whatever, WBT, this, that, the other. And we're going to show you how it's all open and clear and everything is fine. So don't worry. I know you might have heard a rumor down here, there, whatever, but we are making sure it's all clear. Instead of responding to rumors, misinformation, whatever they wanted to call it, with some evidence, it was, you guys are lying. Now, how productive is that? Because again, we are now a population of people who've been lied to over and over and over and over again by the way, the same person, okay, during COVID. So there's zero trust. So at this point, declaring that something is misinformation is going to be knee-jerk assumed to be a lie. That's just, you're trying to censor me and you're lying to me. May or may not be true. That's the sad part. The boy who cried wolf, right? They've cried misinformation so many times that people now see that as code for, you're upsetting our narrative and we need to nip that in the bud and make sure that only our information gets out and you are shut up right quick. Because reasons. And that's just how it's going to be. That's how it's going to be. And if you're watching this and you're remotely sympathetic to, let's say, Governor Cooper or even FEMA or anybody else, and say, well, people shouldn't do that and they shouldn't spread misinformation. Coulda, shoulda, woulda. But how do you know it's misinformation? How do you know it's not just misunderstanding? How do you know it's not actually happening over here, but it doesn't generalize across the region? How do you know that it's misinformation with that like it's a lie? You don't. Unless someone shows you evidence that it is misinformation, you don't. You have to take the person's word for it who's saying it. And what I'm trying to say here is that because it's become weaponized, it is now incumbent upon you and me and everybody else to hold the people using the term accountable every single time to prove it. Prove it. Prove I'm lying. Prove what you're saying is true. Because with every claim of misinformation, it's an implied counterclaim that they have the correct information. So no, we are there and doing things. Show me. But that's easy. Not only are you kill two birds with one stone, you show me what you are doing and you prove me to be wrong. So do it. Very, very simple. And I personally hold the people in a position of power to a higher standard than a person in Western North Carolina who's gone through hell and sitting in their car, and that's where they've been living for the last week, and they're desperate and they're trying to tell you what's going on there, and they don't turn the camera out to face, the roads or whatever. They should. That would be helpful. Show the roadblocks, show this. It's going to be a lot more credible. I certainly don't like to share that stuff as if it's true. I'm just like, is this true? Is this true? Let's get some more info. But if you're in the government and you're going to call that person a liar, and you're going to, that's misinformation, and here's a little place where you can come and report rumors, report on your neighbors. No, I'm sorry. It's incumbent upon you, the person responsible for delivering the aid, to show us what you're doing. What is the correct information? Okay, it's misinformation that ivermectin helps you know. Why is it? What is the correct information? It just doesn't work? Or we're going to die if we take it, and how do you know? You don't get to call it misinformation that this can treat this virus if you can't show us conclusively that it can't. And since you can't, you don't get to call it misinformation. All you can do is say, caveat emptor. We're not recommending it, but hey, it's your body. You want to try it? Knock yourself out. But when you tell people, no, misinformation, why would they trust you when you don't come back with any evidence that it is? So I consider this to be a woke word because it is pretty much being used almost exclusively to shut people down, censor people, and inspire doubt. So people will not listen to any other narrative but the official narrative coming from the mainstream media or the government or whatever. And that will be used, I believe, to try to censor us in the future. Too much misinformation on social media, so we need to regulate it. Too much misinformation just in, day-to-day communication with people. We need to watch out for what people are sharing in message boards and Discord and YouTube and X and this and that. And, you can't have that misinformation. But remember, nobody gets to decide the truth for you. The most they can do is make a case for what they're trying to tell you. The truth has to be discovered. You have to discover the truth from the facts, from the evidence. If you choose to take somebody's word for it because you align with them, you agree with them, or it's in your best interest to agree with them or whatever, that's a choice. But it's not the same thing as knowing the truth. It's one of your options, but you don't get to then declare that yours is the truth. My truth, your truth, right? No, there is the truth. What's going on in Western North Carolina? There's a truth to it. There's a truth to what's happening there on the ground. I'm not there, so I don't know what it is. But I'll tell you what, nobody sitting in a nice, comfy, warm office in Raleigh is going to tell me that their version of truth is the one I should believe and nobody else's unless they show me. And given the technological capabilities they have, they should be able to do that. They don't get to just expect me to believe them because they're the governor. And the news media don't get to expect me to believe them unless they show me. You guys got cameras and helicopters? No, go for it. But you don't get to sit there with your snide little face and be like, who would believe this? It's conspiracy theories and these rumors are just terrible for everyone concerned. They would be if that's what they were, but you haven't really proven it. So who's pushing the misinformation? So be on the lookout for this one. I don't recommend just knee-jerk going, oh, they said misinformation, they're lying. Because that's just doing the same in reverse. But demand accountability. If somebody tells you that something is misinformation, ask for proof. Ask for evidence. It's the only way you're going to know. But you decide the truth. You decide. Not because it's your personal truth, but because if you're going to just rely on someone else and their words without any evidence, then you've outsourced your thinking, literally. And that's why they do it. That's why they use misinformation. It's a thought-terminating, weaponized piece of language. Okay? So I hope this helps. Thanks for watching.